Okay. In this session, we are going to talk about role of media in development communication. Let's get started. So, which are the media play a significant role in development communication? First one would be print. Print would refer to newspaper, magazines, journals, then radio, then television, outdoor publicity. Outdoor publicity would be your hoardings, billboards, lollipops that you would come across regarding any kind of campaign. Those agencies are also used for development purpose. Then traditional media, that would be play, drama, theater, and their role in development. How play, drama, or theater can play a significant role in taking development messages forward. Now, primarily, media's role in development would be based on two things. One is how the messaging process is designed and how it is taken forward. Okay, regarding any development initiative, be it by the government or otherwise. Communication is used for more than just passing on information to one another, like I just said. So usually what happens is we tend to believe that media's role is informing people. That's one of the primary and the most fundamental aspects that media helps us in educating ourselves or making us aware by passing on information. But in the case of development communication, media's role is a lot more larger. It initiates dialogues and conversation. It can be a catalyst to change. It can empower people. We'll go through different examples by looking at what sort of development initiatives media has actually taken over a period of time, whether it is state-owned media or private media, in order to facilitate any kind of process. So media is often used as a tool to facilitate the participation of people in development activities. One thing I have been reiterating right from the beginning of the semester, that people play a very crucial role in any kind of development that can happen within a community or a society or a country at large. So people's participation, um, when it is when the communication process is used in order to initiate that participation process, it could be in a way called as development communication. It is about communication to change or improve the way of living of the citizen of a country. Okay. So any communication that can help us in initiating some sort of a change or improve the way people live in a country can be called as development communication. A variety of mass media messages are used to transform the behavior or change the socioeconomic condition of people. So two things that are important. One is behavioral transformation. So when we say behavioral transformation, we are focusing both on individuals as well as institutions, how they react or respond to things, and how even during the time of crisis or during um, not so regular situations or circumstances, how people act or how people take a certain thing forward. Um, let's say, for example, at this point in time, the farmers were protesting in Delhi. They are protesting for a reason. They're standing up to certain kind of values, which is, you know, anti-agriculture or anti their land or anti their business and profession. So they are raising out or voicing their opinion in a democracy. So this aspect that they understand what the problems are or what is the necessity of participating in such kind of protest can bring in, can initiate change or can transform the behavior even of outsiders. So both those people who are the primary participants or the primary players, as well as organizations, institutions, or people like you and me who can show solidarity from outside. All those things can bring in some sort of change when we look at the socio-economic condition of the people. And lastly, development communication initiatives are there to you know bring in some sort of change in that sort of a design. According to Everett Rogers, development communication refers to the uses to which communication is used to further development. So the reform is something that takes the whole idea of development forward um, through different communication channels. It can thus be said to be an approach to communication which provides communities with information which they can use in bettering their lives. So there is information out there how individuals as well as communities can use that information in bettering their lives, and what role different media play in um, in the designing of those communication messages, or in the proliferation or dissemination of those communication messages, would give us an idea about the whole approach towards development communication. There are two primary roles here. Okay, one is the transforming role, as it states social change in the direction of hygiene taste of today's generation in this competitive market. What it means is, when you talk about hygiene taste of today's generation in competitive market, primarily the market has become competitive, extremely competitive. We are almost spending our times in a consumeristic society, in a capitalistic society. When the amount of effort your parents would put in to reach where they have, you might have to put in some amount of effort or more, or sometimes less, depending on what your ambitions are and our goals are about life and how you want to take it forward. Is it individual driven or is it community driven? Do you have a vision by contributing to the society that you want to see some sort of positive social change in society where you are living in? So everything that you aspire to become, that becomes your hygiene list. Okay. So any step towards bringing in some sort of social change or the other, it could be bringing in gender parity, or it could be looking at taking education to the next step, or ensuring that you know people have enough food, that hunger be as a needs to be addressed, or um, wherein you can chip in and bring in some sort of a change in the healthcare sector, depending on how you look at it. And then there is the socializing role, by seeking to maintain some of the established values of the society. Established values of the society could be general societal norms, and which is something that binds a community. It could be culture, it could be language, it could be food, it could be heritage, literature, music. So all those things, when you hold on to it, remember that these are tools for socialization process. It takes the socialization process forward. We tend to be operating within a society because of these particular values. So how do we take this forward, or how do we raise a dialogue around that? If there is any kind of changes that we need, then we must fight for ourselves, both as individuals as well as communities, so that there is some sort of a revival or renaissance that can happen. So retaining the good established values of the society, um, if there is any amendment to those values which are required, keeping up with the spirit of the times. Like I said, that your generation is an extremely competitive generation. You are literally born into new media space, and your life is almost technocratized that way. So in such sort of a thing, how development communication is playing both the transforming role and socializing role is something that we need to look at. When we talk about transforming role, a little more elaboration on that. Development communication can be used for transforming role by bringing in social change in a way that inspires people to aim for higher quality of life. Okay. Sometime back when I was screening Born into Brothels, I did tell you this part, that how media can play a transforming role. Now, those kids who are born into the red light districts, who live in acute poverty, who never get a scope as privileged as us to educate us, themselves, or for aiming for or dreaming for a better standard of living. Those things, if there are two kids whose life has transformed or changed, then that's also a big initiative. So that's the sort of social change that can inspire, or what is happening in Deccan Development Society with those radio volunteers or video volunteers who are almost in charge of running Zara Sangam, or that NGO. From an outsider's perspective, if you look at it, it's extremely inspiring, and it can help take the dialogue forward, um, in order to aim for or have some sort of ambition around a better standard of living or better quality of life. Now, standard of living is not necessarily becoming rich and having all the privileges and you know all the disposals of luxury at your end. But wherever you are, can I take my life forward in a way where I can live with all basic amenities fulfilled and be respected and have a dignified life in society that could be, a higher quality of life from wherever you are, both as an individual or as a, from a community's point of view. If you look at it, people aim to be in that state where quality education, quality healthcare, uh, basic amenities being fulfilled, and um, the issues of unemployment being resolved would be would bring in some those sort of changes. So here in the transforming role, communication acts as an instrument to achieve those objectives. So how do you use media primarily? How do you use or how do you help people understand the value of media or the nuances of its functions so that they can also transform their role um, in taking development forward, or how they can initiate some sort of a change uh, that could contribute eventually to bring in social change in the community. The next part is socializing role. DevCom also tries to maintain the established values of the society, okay, by playing socializing role, that you are trying to bring in some sort of a communality between people. Uh, so idea is to celebrate commonness as well as diversity, that you value what is there. And what is interesting about our country is the amount of diversity that exists primarily. So DevCom can play a role in helping in the process of socialization. It tries to build an atmosphere so the planned and proposed changes may be brought about while keeping the social fabric of the society intact. So, like I said, we already have a diverse framework. So how do we take the diversity forward? For example, I am somebody who is from the East, and while stepping out of my state, whatever idea I had about the culture of people in South India would be largely drawn from the social sciences book or the kind of conversations I would have had with my friends while in the growing of years who were from the southern part of India. But after in the last 15 years that I've spent in this part of the world, or I've traveled to different places in south of India, um, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, the things that I've experienced, both as events and incidents, or the people I have socialized with briefly during my travel, there's some sort of an internal discourse that has happened while getting a better picture of the values that people carry forward. People in Telangana have a different way of looking at things than people of Karnataka or Tamil Nadu for that matter, or Kerala for that matter. People who are rooted in their culture, and so why do they hold on to this thing called culture? In a way, it's an abstract concept when we look at it, but it is extremely significant as well because uh, when you break it down, the breakdowns will give you a lot of functional identities that you have or you carry forward. So in the process, what happens is when I, as an outsider, is looking at those sort of values or traditions people hold on to, and also as a student of media, my job would be largely to critically evaluate those things and see how they are using this and how that could help build a certain picture about that society. So, but every society undergoes some sort of transformation, or every community goes through some sort of changes. Now, while keeping those social values or those cultures and tradition intact, um, I mean, at least the core essence of it being there, how do we take the other initiatives forward? And mass media can really play a proactive role in helping development communication fulfill these primary tools. Okay, these primary tools of um, transformation as well as socialization process. Okay. The media plays an important role in the circulation of knowledge, providing forums for discussion of issues, teaches ideas, skills for better life, and create a base for consensus for stability of the state. So these are the crucial things that uh, media does whenever we talk about the discourses around development communication. First is circulation of knowledge. Okay, how media helps in the circulation of knowledge by using technology or by allowing us to educate ourselves or inform ourselves or make us aware about everything that is happening in and around, and how we can play a very significant role in contributing to this universe of knowledge. Then providing forums for discussion of issues that can happen in the context of news media or in sessions like this. So whenever there is a forum to discuss, or any kind of public gathering, then teach ideas and skills for better life. There are so many of you who take up certificate courses or do workshops, those things, because primarily you are interested in ideas or you know acquiring skills that could help you grow better. Then create a base for consensus for the stability of the state. Stability of the state is important now, and media can play, in the context of development communication, it can play a base role in retaining the stability of the state, that everything be balanced that way. From early stages of introduction of the media in India, various attempts were made to exploit the potential of development purposes. Okay, so there is a chronological history to how development initiatives were proposed or taken forward. Now, it would be crucial to note that right from the early stages, whatever condition Indian media was, there were several attempts that were done. The history of DevCom in India can be traced back to 1940s, when radio broadcast was done in multiple languages to promote development through various programs like programs for rural audience, educational program, and family welfare programs. So these are development initiatives, that programs for attending to rural audiences, then initiating some sort of educational programs on radio, and family welfare programs where people can be informed about how family life can be conducted socially, or why family planning is important, and so on and so forth. Then TV was used as a medium for social education. Okay, what do you mean by social education? Education which goes beyond individual capacities, or looking at individual responses. When we talk about social education, we are talking about transforming a society. We're talking about making people aware about what is happening in and around, and how they can socialize better or understand their social fabric better. So introducing different nuances of culture, introducing music, introducing literature, introducing poetry, introducing the current issues, or having debates and discussions are healthy. That can lead to several inventions and discoveries in several contexts that can bring in the concerns down, or the challenges down. Weapons against ignorance, and to facilitate awareness among people through various programs like educational TV, Contribute Classroom, teleconferencing, which is something that you're experiencing at this point in time. The whole concept of teleconferencing is how um, we are interacting with each other, or Contribute Classroom, um, recording programs on television and then broadcasting it, so that people continue to learn, even if they might not be able to might not be in a position to go to classrooms all the time. That has brought in um, from different fora of the society to learn or educate themselves. Experiments in satellite technology has been conducted in recent years to bring about social change and development. Plays a very significant role, whether it is INSAT or SITE project, so on and so forth. This has been done with the introduction of SITE project and Gyandarshan. Gyandarshan is a channel which is dedicated by Doordarshan, the state-owned media television, in order to offer different educational content across the country. Mass media technologies should be extensively and tactfully used for development purpose. It should be noted that mass media technology is a powerful weapon in the hands of government to combat the challenges related to development and facilitate positive developmental change. Okay, so both state-owned media as well as private media, uh, and whatever is there within the establishment or the dispensations, and could be used to address all the issues that are related to development, be it hunger, be it education, be it healthcare. Look at this entire pandemic situation, how um, what sort of a role the state-owned media played in taking the information forward, whether it is regarding the precautions that are necessary in order to stay away from the virus getting affecting you or infecting your near and dear. The whole idea of using masks in public spaces or using the 6 feet distance, all the information that is relevant, which would help you evade this sort of a situation. Um, the initiatives that were taken by the government in order to publicize this information, mass media technology has a very powerful role in this and facilitate positive developmental changes by reiterating or by taking the initiatives that are taken by both the state as well as the non-state players or the NGOs forward, initiating some sort of a developmental discourse around common public and uh, somewhere subconsciously influencing them to participate in large numbers. Mass media structures should be planned and efforts should be made to maximize the reach to people. Remember that the whole purpose of mass media is to reach out to majority of people. So more number of people are aware, they can make more informed choices. So your job, as a media learner or going forward, as a media producer in whatever sector you are, you can contribute by reaching out to more number of people, people who are in the fringes of the society or people who still lack the privilege to, you know, have information um, at their disposal so that or teach them how to use that information. It's not enough just to pass on information. It's also about allowing people to have access to information as well as they should be in a position to use that information in a better way. Daniel Lerner in 1958, while discussing the relationship of development with any mass media, said, greater the communication facilities, greater or when faster is the process of modernization. Okay, so 1950s, if you remember in the early lectures, I did speak about the process of modernization and how it is indirectly linked to development process or development discourse. Now, in that context, what he says is if you have better communication facilities, then there is a larger possibility that the process of modernization could be taken forward. According to Wilbur Scrum, the role of media in development can be divided into three parts, that is to inform, instruct, and participate. This is something that we discussed in the first semester itself in the Introduction to Communication and Journalism class. Okay, so let's look at how these things are utilized or used in DevCom. To inform, information is power. For the development of society, correct social, political, and economic influence is very important. Media helps the people to be aware about and develop a consensus upon important national and international development issues. That's something that media focuses on, or media should rather focus on, because it can, have serious impact or critical impact on the society by offering right social, political, and economic influence. Media helps the people to be aware about and develop a consensus upon important national and international development issues. So it's not just important to be informed, in a state of in a state where you are aware about the local issues or the community issues. You need to know what is happening across the nation, also internationally, and what are the developmental challenges, so that tomorrow, if you are traveling on some purpose or some work, then you should be in a position to do so. It also helps them understand the various obstacles in the process of development. So once you enter into the space, once people enter into the space, or people who are part of participatory communication, or people who are a part of, the development industry, so to say, they can understand various obstacles in the process in a much better way, in a much functional way, and they can initiate changes that way. So information, if it reaches out to majority of people, that can at least be a catalyst for some sort of change or the other. Second part is instruction. Mass literacy is an essential criteria for them. More people are aware, more people are literate, they are likely to act or react to certain initiatives, certain projects, certain policies in a better way. If they are they have issues with any processes, then they would be in a better position to take a call regarding this. Okay. So mass literacy could play a very significant role in the entire process. This is possible by imbibing basic skills among people. Imbibing basic skills. Now, what are the basic skills? Basic skills is reading and writing. They should be able to do that part, and then once they're being in a position, they're in a position to read and write, then their education could be taken forward. Now, it might happen in a formal way, might not happen in a formal way. That's how adult education or adult literacy programs by the National Literacy Mission uh, was successfully initiated in the 90s, and mass media played a very significant role, or can continue and continues to play a very significant role in this. It can instruct people and educate them. So you might do away with, the formal educational system, um, if it is not possible. Some communities or some individuals, everybody might not be in a position of privilege to have got the scope to educate themselves in a formal institutional setup. So and this is the space where mass media can come in. For example, this thing that we are doing right now in a virtual classroom. Tomorrow, if you want to help people, help underprivileged kids learn something, or you want to take certain initiatives regarding adult education forward in your villages or in communities that you are aware of. So you can bring in some sort of capacity building exercises or initiatives in the education sector by devising tools and techniques in which education can be taken forward by using technology. Okay, so every time to depend on the NGOs or institutions or the government to take initiatives. Um, be a problematic thing in the sense they are doing it and they would continue to do so. But at individuals, wherever we are, can we help people in the instructional process or educational process and make their lives better? So that they are literate and they can make more informed choices. Projects like Cite and Ganderson are a few examples where media is used to instruct people, educate them, and teach them basic skills. These basic skills help people to develop their standard of living. Okay, it could be vocational training if you are trained in offering some kind of vocational training, or if you can facilitate this entire process, then there'll be nothing like it, and then you can help people who are uh, in a state where they might not be able to help themselves. This sort of acquisition of this sort of skills might help them better their standard of living by appearing for alternative professions or trying out something new. Then the last part is to participate. All development activities are based primarily on people's participation, like I told, so almost a reiteration. Voluntary and continuous participation of the citizen of the country is necessary for continued development, because it's a process. Right from day one, I had been telling that development is an ongoing process, it's a work in progress. It's not something that um, happens and then all of a sudden you can say that, okay, this is where it stops. No, America didn't stop when it attained the state of developed, called as a developed nation, or any parts of Europe for that matter. So the process of development is always in continuum. Hence, our participation, both voluntary as well as institutional, both at individual level as well as at a community level, is extremely crucial, and that should continue. Debates and discussion help people to know about current issues, participate in development programs, and bring about a change in society. That's the reason why people gather at different places. Um, community run festivals, community media festivals, community media at the first place plays a very significant role in such sort of initiatives by bringing in more people, more and more number of people to participate in all development initiatives across. So we are not just dependent on institution anymore, that we can initiate change individually and with small group communications as well. Scrum has laid a lot of emphasis on content feedback and multiplier effects of mass media while discussing the role of mass media in development. According to him, the content of development communication must be designed keeping in mind the target audience of the message. Now, this is also crucial because as a media creator, as somebody who is from the other side of the table, who could go on to, be part of the production process of messages, always keep in mind who your target audience is, because knowing your target audience, researching about them, doing all sort of back-end work that is important, would help you identify what is the nature of the audience, where they are as far as their literacy level is concerned, so your messages can be successfully penetrated or disseminated once you have identified that audience. Okay, you'll design your messages accordingly. If you are designing your messages for, let's say, intermediate or graduates, same set of development messages as against um, designing it for 5-year-olds or 10 years old who are school dropouts, um, who are either in ghettos or in the whom we call as the urban poor. So knowing who your target audience is, whether it is city audience, whether it is rural audience, within that, how skilled or educated that audience is, all those things can help you put a lot of ideas into the entire feedback process. Because for successful communication of development, feedback is also crucial because feedback will be reflected in the further initiatives and the engagements that you have further. It not only supports the implementation process of various communication strategies, but also helps to assess whether or not communication is meeting their purpose or aim. Because it should not happen the way it happened back in 1960s when there were a lot of international development scholars were brought in to do assessment of our development issues, and all they brought in is the Western framework or the Western model, which did not work at all because they were isolated with our culture. To our culture, they were unaware about how our people are or what they hold on to, what is their purpose or aim. So unless you are rooted in those questions, unless you are rooted in those concerns and issues, unless you have spent considerable amount of time with the locals or with those people, with the implementation, with the group which requires development communication initiatives to be implemented, that the purpose would not be met. So designing communication strategies or messaging would lead you to successful feedback only when the purpose of those projects are met. He further adds that modern communication technologies, which would be IT and IT-enabled services, uh, or the mass media, can be effectively used to multiply the message and reach out to simultaneously to a wide heterogeneous audience. Okay, you design one thing and this can go on. For example, I'm recording this lecture and then it goes on to cloud, then it can stay and then it can be circulated wherever I want it to be. Independent India's earliest organized experiments in development communication started with communication development projects initiated by the Union government in the 1950s. Initially, the press did not meet the requisite interest in development communication. So, because people didn't have much of an idea about what this initiative is or what this topic is and why is it important in their life. In order to correct the imbalances noticed in media coverage of rural development programs and to ensure that these programs are portrayed in proper perspective, several steps were taken to sensitize the media about issues related to rural development. Because remember, 70% of our society is still rural in nature. That way, it's only the divide is 40-60 if you look at urban versus rural setup. So rural development is as much and more important than urban development, so to say. We can't just focus on cities and towns and create smart cities and megalopolises and offer them as symbols of development to the outside world, saying that no, we are making progress. We have to take all the people around and take them forward. So in the process, what we need to do is we need to strengthen our roots. We need to address the issues that are related to rural development, and these are not the things that were initially done. So all the rural development initiatives that were, you know, done or taken forward um, were not covered properly. So the government or the dispensation has to take proper steps forward in order to sensitize the media how to go about covering these development initiatives and how to make it um, reachable to people. Radio from its very inception played an important role in development communication. This is mainly due to its advantage of reaching to large number of people from different sections of society. And radio could do so because it is also one of the most accessible, mobile, and cheaper form of communication or medium. So a lot of people had radio back in the day, and they would draw their informational uh, knowledge from radio. NGOs and educational institutions were given licenses to set up local community radio stations to broadcast information and messages on developmental aspects of the community. Something those who were part of the DDS trip would know that what role these NGOs can play by setting up community radio stations and how that can transform lives of people in and around. And educational institutions also, like ITSU has, Bola Hyderabad, Jamia has its own community radio station. A lot of education radio institutions have their own radio stations, and they try to um, gather the public or the listeners for that matter around several topics which concerns them and the community. Participation of local communities always encouraged in development communication, as community radio provides a platform to local folks to broadcast their issues. So it's not an approach which is top down. It's not about we go abroad, we get qualified, we come back and we think that we know everything about that place. Rather, the approach should be you taking a back seat and trying to understand what are the issues and concerns of the local folks of that particular geography or community, and then help them learn how to get into the production of messaging, and then so that they can broadcast their issues, and that can be a potential to initiate positive action. And a very fine example is again Deccan Development Society, that how these women who were from the fringes of the society, Dalit poor women, how they have taken charge of the media and initiated positive action by inspiring more number of women to join the community, and it's almost like a community media movement, so to say. Television was introduced in India in 1959 on an experimental basis, something that we spoke about at length when we did mass media in India class and second semester. Its very inception was with the aim to see what could be achieved in community development and formal education. So those were the two targets, that how to take the community forward as far as development is concerned, and how education could be used in order to initiate some sort of formal educational training or the other. TV has been used as an aid to satellite communication technologies to effectively bring and develop all the inside programs and side programs with because of this. And satellite communication technologies offer unique capabilities of being able to reach out to a large number of people spread across distances, even in the most remotest corner of the country. And that's the good thing about radio and television, that you don't need to be a literate in order to understand everything. If your olfactory faculties are working properly, if you can see and hear, there's a lot that you can learn, even at the most remotest part of the country where otherwise mainstream media might not be able to face touch you. The new media transition happened after 1996, when several independent media houses brought out news websites prior to the arrival of new millennium. So this is the most newest form of transition that got added to the development initiatives. Today it has become an active tool in facilitating development communication projects across India, because a lot of initiatives are done online, and people are encouraged to have access to systems, and then those who have, They can navigate through all the developmental communication projects that are initiated both by um, the government or the dispensation as well as those who are working in the NGO sector. At the institutional front, initiatives like e-governance helps in the delivery of public services and relevant information at the doorstep of people with the help of computers and IT-enabled services. Okay, if you read a bit about e-governance, you know what sort of initiatives are taken, are being taken over a period of time or has been taken over a period of time. It's almost 15 odd years of experiment in this sector, and though it's slow, but we are steadily progressing. So that's a good site. Citizens can also use ICTs as administrative tools to pave the way for effective social and development change initiatives. So all the social and development change initiatives that can be brought in. Now you are the generation who are going to increasingly use ICTs, information communication technologies, as administrative tools to take initiatives forward. E-governance plays the role of a catalyst for sustainable inclusive growth. Okay, when we talk about sustainable inclusive growth, what we are primarily focusing upon is bringing in more number of communities and making the entire um, development process sustainable in nature so that it can stay for a longer period of time. So design can be done in that way. And e-governance, that's why I'm saying that it's been there for some time now and it's doing steady progress. So what e-governance does, it uses ICTs for planning, implementation, and monitoring of government programs, which is crucial. Then e-Chowpal, traditionally Chowpal is known to be the central gathering in the village or a kind of rural forum where people discuss, debate, and decide on the course of action about some burning issues in the community. Something that you'll have seen in films or in villages, like where panchayat samitis are there, and when they have those committee discussions where people are, asked to come and raise their issues. A similar concept was conceived by ITC, the Indian Tobacco Company's agribusiness division, one of the India's largest exporter of agricultural commodities. The e-Chowpal model has been specifically designed to tackle the challenges posed by unique features of Indian agriculture, characterized by fragmented farms, weak infrastructure, and involvement of numerous intermediaries, among others. ITC did this. You need to do a bit of reading around the e-Chowpal model. It's very interesting what ITC has done to take the agricultural discourse forward and placing agriculture in the entire development objective of this country, by looking at all the loopholes, by looking at policy level initiatives and changes and how those things can proceed, and how infrastructural changes by investing in better infrastructure can help the farmers or the farming community to better up the situation. With this enthusiastic response from the farmers have encouraged ITC to plan for extension of e-Chowpal initiative to altogether 15 states across India over the next few years. On the anvil are plans to channelize other services related to microcredit, health, education to the same e-Chowpal infrastructure. So using the same interface, how do you extend your services from just agricultural sector and reach out to the health and education sector? So that's more or less about role of media in development communication, which I wanted to talk about or share or discuss. If you guys have any questions, we can take it in the next session. So I'm stopping here. Thank you.